Catholic channel SiriusXM 129 presents Sounds from the Spires with Dr. Jennifer Pascual, Music Director of St. Patrick's Cathedral.
Hello and welcome to Sounds from the Spires. This is Dr. Jennifer Pascual and you're listening to the Catholic channel on SiriusXM 129. And today we have very special guests right here live in the studio who just crossed the Hudson for us today. So thank you. We all crossed the Hudson today to be here. So we have with us Dr. Al Cressy, Dr. Al Cressy and his wife Elizabeth. They're both here. And Dr. Al was the music director at Holy Innocents in Brooklyn for a number of years. How many years, Al?
42.
42.
Altogether.
And you went to school there too, right?
Went to school there. We just celebrated our 51st anniversary of our graduation the other day.
Wow. Is that elementary or high school?
Elementary.
Okay. And it's a beautiful church. I had been there years ago. I think it was 2005, 6. And Al was responsible for a number of things, including the restoration of the great organ there, the Skinner organ.
Yes.
And so that's how we met, right? Was because of the organ, or did we meet prior to that?
No, I believe that's how we met, and you came and you performed the Mendelssohn Sonata No. 1 in F minor and a Salve Regina concert etude by Mineri.
Oh my gosh, you remember that? Oh, yes, his notes. Mm-hmm. Al is very organized and prepared. You have your doctorate in education, right?
Educational administration and supervision from Seton Hall.
Right, from Seton Hall. Mm-hmm. So anybody of that caliber has everything ready to go. And he's so kind to, I was going to read off of my phone some of the questions that I prepared for today, and he printed them out for me. You're great. And he's wearing a tie. Look at that beautiful musical tie. And so thank you both for being here today. And but Al, you are kind of retired now, right? So you're retired from Holy Innocents, but I know that you're doing some freelancing and helping out in parishes and whatnot. So you're really not in retirement anymore, right?
I found out that I'm not good at retirement. I think I stayed out of church music for about 2 months after I retired from Holy Innocents, and somehow got right back into it. But I'm not doing as much as I was. It's more time for Liz and me, and
that's important.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Do you have children?
No children.
No children. And so are you retired also then from the administration?
Yes. Yeah, we were both administrators. We're both retired.
And that's how you met?
Yes, we met at my first job on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, private Catholic school, 1982. Yeah. And then we were married in 84.
Wow. So had you been administrating in solely Catholic church schools or public schools as well?
No, in 1986 we moved into public school systems in New Jersey, each of us different ones, as teachers, and then gradually worked our way up the ranks.
Great. And are you retired too, Liz?
I am retired,
Good for you. You both look too young to be retired. I wish you could see them both. They're well dressed and too young to be retired.
Thank you.
So you live in New Jersey, and you've lived in New Jersey all this time, so you commuted all the way to Holy Innocents for church every week?
Yeah, 35 years.
Oh my gosh.
At least twice a week.
That's a huge commute.
It was a big commitment, but it was a labor of love.
Of course, to be doing that many miles and that much traffic and
yes.
all the tolls. And so you went to school there and you developed a music program, and it's in Flatbush?
Right,
Flatbush, Brooklyn. And what were your responsibilities when you were there?
Well, I increased the size of the parish choir that was there previously, and when I got there, my predecessor, Patrick Morvello, Pat and I are still very good friends. He did a wonderful job with the choir, and I just made it a little larger, and later I implemented a trilingual choir, which is made up of English, Spanish, French, Creole, and we all sang Latin, of course. That's the official language of the church.
Right, sure.
Started a Vespers program, ran a couple of workshops in music theory for the choir and interested parishioners.
Yeah.
And then when I got into grant writing, I got us into the National Historic Registry, which we were the first Catholic parish in the Diocese of Brooklyn to do so, and it really was very gratifying.
Wow. So you do grant writing as well then?
I kind of picked that up on the fly. Never went to school for it, but I picked it up on the fly.
Did you do that because you were an administrator or because you were a musician, or both?
Really as a parishioner and a musician. That's where really I saw that there was needs for the parish to grow, and it all started, as you know, with the beautiful E.M. Skinner grant that we got for $360,000 from a wonderful foundation in Pennsylvania. And other grant opportunities occurred because of the organ. So there you go,
Right.
the power of organ,
Well, yeah,
the
of
power
course.
of music.
Yes. And was that a Skinner Foundation? Or
It's a foundation that centers on E.M. Skinner organs or Skinner organs as such, but I have them considering an organ in another parish that I'm helping out in. It's a Mid-Merlache,
okay.
and the
Historical.
foundation,
Yeah.
historic, and the foundation is considering that.
wow. Is that also in Brooklyn?
Also, yes, St. Francis of Assisi.
You just love Brooklyn.
Liz and I were born in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn will always be part of our lives.
And your accent. So would you ever move back to Brooklyn, or you just there to stay in New Jersey?
We really love where we are in New Jersey,
Yeah.
and we live part-time in Massachusetts as well.
Oh, okay.
And it's a beautiful area up in the Berkshires.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn will always be part of my life
Mm-hmm.
and part of Liz's life, but we're happy doing what we're doing.
That's
Besides,
great.
the real estate is so expensive now in Brooklyn.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is.
So the parish that you're helping out in, is that also the parish that you're doing music in at the moment, or is that two separate things?
The Sacred Sounds of Brooklyn Choir, which is a Brooklyn-based choir, we're a road choir.
A road choir.
But we're kind of housed at St. Francis of Assisi, and we're helping out Father Paul Jervis. He's an old friend of mine from my days at Sacred Heart on Adelphi Street, which I was also the music director. Wonderful guy, really appreciates good music. He's welcomed us with open arms, and what can I say? When you have a wonderful pastor like
Yes,
that,
yeah.
you do everything you can to support him in his parish work.
Amen. It's just, there's nothing like the a professional duo between a musician and a pastor. If you have that great working relationship, you can do great things between, the mass and the music that you do. Do you two go to mass together then, Liz and Al?
Somewhat frequently in New Jersey.
In New Jersey when he was in New Jersey, but for 42 years he crossed the river every Saturday and Sunday, and I did not because I was working, so it was
Right.
more local for me.
Yeah, so 2 months of retirement, and now you're back into the
Back into
throes of music, and you're doing all the masses on the weekend, or are you just assisting, or?
Well, I'm also at a church in Bridgewater, New Jersey, Holy Trinity, and a very fine pastor is there, Father Jeff Callier, and the music director that I think you know, Anne Marie Izzo.
Okay, yes.
Anne Marie knew each other from our days at the Westminster Conservatory. We got graduated from the Church Music Certificate Program. So I'm helping them out, and I conduct the adult choir.
Okay.
And a great bunch of people over in Bridgewater, too.
And where is that in relation to, like, Woodbridge? Is that south, or?
That's a good question. A little further west.
West of
A little further west of
Woodbridge.
of Woodbridge.
Okay. I still am trying to get
It's
the geography
near Route
right.
206, if
Okay.
that means anything, and the Somerville Circle.
Yeah. For the rest of you listening, it's west of Manhattan, west of the Hudson River, maybe like 45 minutes, I guess.
Something like
Yeah.
that. Right.
To give you a geography lesson. Yeah, so let's listen to a little bit of Al. Al is also an organist, as you've heard, and he was responsible for the restoration of the E.M. Skinner organ at Holy Innocents in Brooklyn. And we'll listen now to this is a live performance, right?
Yes, it is.
The whole thing. This is a program from October 13 of 2017, and this is Couperin and a fugue on the Kyrie. and that is our guest today, Al Cresci, Dr. Al. And that was a live performance of Fugue on the Kyrie of Francois Couperin on the E.M. Skinner at Holy Innocents in Flatbush, Brooklyn. Live performance, and Al was responsible for the restoration of that instrument. And so, congratulations on
Thank you.
that.
Great joy in my life.
Yeah, it's like having a child, I guess.
It was, and it took 9 months to get the grant, so there you go.
That's funny. Is it hard to get grants? Is that those of us who are musicians, most of us, unless we're in administration, have no clue about raising money and much less grant writing. Is that a difficult thing?
It really is, because your writing skills have to be there. I mean, some grants are free form. You can kind of make up your own format. Other grants are very structured, and you have to stay on the beat.
Right.
No pun intended. And if you go off, they'll just throw it out in the garbage.
Yeah.
You have to answer the questions. You have to explain to the grantor how the people will benefit from us getting this particular sum of money.
Right.
What you're going to do with every dollar and cent.
Yeah.
And what I basically center on is the history, in the case of the E.M. Skinner, the history of the organ, the history of Holy Innocents, the history of the neighborhood, the demographics of the people, the services, how we're going to use it, and the last ingredient, probably the most important, loads of prayer.
Wow, that's a lot of paperwork, I assume.
It's tremendous amount of paper. It took me a year and a half to get that grant.
Goodness.
But I was working with a wonderful guy in this foundation in Pennsylvania, a joy to work with.
Yeah. Well, your labors have really worked out, and
the best part of that is we were able to parlay that into $1.1 million for Holy Innocents
for the church,
and it all came from the organ.
All because of the E.M. Skinner.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you have an E.M. Skinner that needs restoration, you too might be able to get a grant if you're into grant writing. Dr. Al, have you done any other grant writing, maybe for school purposes, aside from church?
Well, I actually ran a television studio in the middle school where I was an administrator, and we used to do a daily broadcast, a news broadcast with students, and I was able to write some grants that got us some equipment, which was really nice. And that really gave me the bug for broadcast. I've always had the bug for broadcasting, so I'm absolutely thrilled to be sitting in the studio today. It's wonderful.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you both here, so thank you. Yeah, and I was looking at a small Wikipedia article on Holy Innocents, and it's been in movies before, apparently, or Mad Men or something like that.
East 17th Street has become the Hollywood of Brooklyn.
Really?
Yeah, it's amazing. There have been a number of times that I couldn't drive down the block to get to the church because some production was going on, and I had explained to them, but I'm the director of music, and I'm expected here for a service, and they said, well, where are you going to park? Oh, I'm going to park in the lot across the street. Fine, you can go there, but please don't go anywhere else.
Now, have they filmed inside the church itself, or just the outside?
Not that I'm aware of, but they've used the church as a backdrop.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And how did you get your start in music itself? Were you a young child, piano lessons, or growing up in Catholic school?
Well, it actually started with the clarinet.
Oh, okay.
My father was a very able clarinetist in the Army, and my mom was a tremendous singer. I mean, she could have gone pro if she wanted to. My father taught me the rudiments of music. But there was something, and at that time, we lived in Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish in Kensington, Brooklyn. So I would go to the 9 o'clock Mass. Those were the days of the Latin Mass. But I would come home.
He doesn't look old enough. He really doesn't.
Thank you. I love you, Jennifer. And my parents bought me one of those cheap $20, well, $20 was big back in those days, M&E organ, if you've ever heard of that.
No.
It's a little organ that fits on a tabletop, and I would try to emulate what I heard at Mass, of course, not very well, but it was always there. And then that's how I got started in music. And then later really got into church music. That was from Holy Innocents.
Okay, yeah. And then somebody just throw you on the organ bench one day and say, "Here, play."
Well, we moved from that house to Westminster Road, 5 blocks away from Holy Innocents, and I was 10 years old at the time. And I remember the date. It was November the 2nd, 1964, a long time ago. And my mother, in her very charitable way, wanted me out of the house because I was under tow. I guess I was making her crazy. She said, "Why don't you go walk over to the school that you're going to be attending and walk over to the church where you'll be attending?" So I get over to the church. I hear organ music. I go in the church, and Mr. Michael Green, who was the organist at that time, he was an AAGO associate in the American Guild of Organists.
Right.
Tremendous musician. I heard him play. I went in the church, about 7 pews from the back, looked up, saw him sitting in his seat, and I said, "I want to be an organist." This is an absolutely true statement.
Wow.
This was 5 minutes that had the most profound effect on for me in my life, next to Elizabeth, of course.
Right answer.
I'll be eating dinner tonight.
Yeah,
That's
that's extra points for you, Al. Good job.
okay. And it just made all the and for me, the opportunity for so many years to sit in his chair, it just meant everything to. It still means everything to me.
Aw, what a great story.
It is.
Yeah,
Thank
you just never know if you're an organist out there that you may be playing and you're inspiring some young person who may have never heard an organ before, or it just, wow, look at that, and I want to do that. So you just never know. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I was Pat Marvello's assistant for a few years, and I was also playing at Sacred Heart on Adelphi Street. And when I had gotten the grant for $310,000 and then $50,000 to as a maintenance grant to keep it going, I said to Pat, "What would Mr. Green say today?" He said, "Mike Green would absolutely be hugging you." That almost brought tears to my eyes. It really, God rest his soul.
What a great story. Yeah, so we're talking with Al and Liz Cressy, and we'll continue to talk to them in a couple of minutes, but we'll take a couple minutes break, and we'll continue talking to him about his career in music and administration, and listen to more of an organ concert and choir concert that we heard in 2017. You're listening to Sounds from the Spires on the Catholic Channel on SiriusXM 129. And that's an improvisation on the hymn tune Unde et Memores at that first Eucharist. And our guest today, Dr. Al Cressy, improvised that at a live concert on October 13 of 2017 at Holy Innocents Church in Brooklyn. And he was responsible for the restoration of that E.M. Skinner. And that improv really shows off all the colors of the instrument. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's really beautiful. And,
Really appreciate that. Coming from you, that's quite a compliment.
Nice registration choices. And
Thank you.
And the Paragallos had been working on that instrument too, so they're the ones who restored it, right?
Yes, and I know they're your curators
That's right.
at the cathedral.
Yeah.
Wonderful bunch of guys, and I always remember John Jr.
Right.
Pop,
Oh,
as
yeah.
we knew him.
Pops.
What a wonderful man he was.
Yeah.
God rest his soul.
Yeah, they're all great and
Yeah.
just good people and good Catholics, and yeah. The youngest John just had another child. But it was a girl. I
that's
can't
right.
remember the name off the top of my
Forgot her
head, but
name.
we were wondering if it's going to be John 5. Yeah. So, but yes, and in addition to your organ playing, you did some improv here. Is that something you do regularly or in liturgy?
I try to do that. I try to do an improv every now and then of the closing hymn.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Because kind of the way the brain functions, people will walk out to a closing hymn, and that's the thing that they will remember the most because that's the way,
Right.
that's what they last
Yeah.
heard. So I, every now and then, would love to do an improvisation based on the last hymn tune. It's not usually as lengthy as that one.
Right.
But, I like to do that every now and then.
Yeah. And you're an organist. Just found out during the break that you're a mathematician as well. But you're also a choral conductor, and you started the Sacred Sounds of Brooklyn.
Yes.
We mentioned a little bit about that in the first segment, but tell us about this group, how they
Sure.
were formed, and where they sing, and they're on the road now, I understand.
We're a road choir. We're a nonprofit organization. We offer our services free to the community, regardless of denomination, so it could be Catholic or non-Catholic. It has its roots in Flatbush, Brooklyn, but this was an opportunity for the choir to leave the choir loft in one particular church and thank you for your years of service. Now go out and meet the world, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
Last February, we had the honor and the privilege to sing at the Cadet Chapel at West Point Military Academy. And in fact, we are returning there October the 20th at 10 a.m. So any of you who are out there, come join us. Come listen to us sing. I'd like to do a shout out to my very good friend and colleague, Craig Williams,
Sure.
the director of music at the chapel, as well as you, Dr.
Oh,
Pascual,
of course.
because we'll be hopefully doing something soon at the cathedral as well. So we welcome the opportunity to sing anywhere we can travel to, because our mission is to worship the Lord through song. And our slogan is the well-known Latin phrase, Soli Deo Gloria, to
That's
the glory of God alone. So we love to practice, sing, and we really are a musical family.
Amen. And so the singers are not necessarily Catholic then. They come from all over Brooklyn, or are they
Oh, they're
most of
all
them
Catholic. Yeah, they're all Catholic. But, hey, we worship the Lord in
That's right.
any place we can. So
That's right.
those of you who are listening, we welcome the opportunity to come to your place of worship and share our gift with you.
Right.
That's what we love to do.
Yeah. I've never been to West Point Chapel, believe it or not.
Oh, largest church organ in the world.
That's right.
874 stops.
So you got to play it then.
I got to play
Yeah.
it. I'll be playing it again. God bless Craig. He set up the pistons for me.
That's a lot of pistons.
Four pistons for the whole thing. 4 keyboards. It's a large organ.
Yeah. And I saw a little YouTube clip of Sacred Sounds of Brooklyn. You pointed it out to me, and very nice. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so how many members and how many rehearsals do you do a week with them?
We have 15 members. We're always looking for more people. We actually have a Facebook page,
Okay.
the Sacred Sounds of Brooklyn. I set up an email, sacredsoundsofbrooklyn@gmail.com.
Okay.
We're looking for new members all the time. We rehearse every 2 weeks at St. Francis. The acoustics there are just unbelievable. The mid-Merloche organ, very little little of it is playing at the moment. But as I said earlier, I'm preparing a grant. I have prepared a grant for
Wow.
them, and that's a big grant, $323,000. It's
Yeah,
a
good
lot
for
of
you.
money, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. Is there a Mid-Merlosh Foundation?
Not that I'm aware of. It's the same foundation that we were fortunate enough to work with at Holy Innocents, and although it's not a Skinner organ, I could see a lot of similarities between the Mid-Merlosh and the Skinner organ, and he's considering it. So prayer.
Yeah.
It's the name of the game.
Yes. We'll pray for you. And
Thank
good
you.
luck with that. Yes.
Thank you.
Back in 2017, you had this idea to do a Decade of the Rosary kind of concert.
We did the entire rosary.
You did the entire Rosary. Did you sing the entire Rosary, or did you pray part of it?
The way I had it planned was we walked into Salve Regina, and then there was a prayer, and then we sang the chant to Ave Maria, which
Okay.
I called the real Ave Maria.
The real, not the Schubert.
Not the Schubert, yeah. Although, most
I know
of
what
us
you mean.
think the Schubert.
It's overplayed.
At every, I know. And then at every decade, we would do another Ave Maria.
I see.
So that's the way we worked it. One of my youngest members, who was at the time in third grade, she sang in front of the congregation all by herself the Bach Gounod,
Wow.
right on the mark. So Reagan, I hope you're listening to this. Congratulations. God bless you. She's in the 5th grade now. She's an exceptional child. All of our members are just exceptional. They really are like family.
Oh, that's great.
They really are.
Yeah. So the Salve Regina then was the processional chant?
Yes.
Okay, so let's listen to that now. This is the Salve Regina chant.
Yeah.
And so you heard the Salve Regina chant and the real Ave Maria, the Ave Maria chant, as opposed to the Schubert, which was actually not written as an Ave Maria before.
That's right.
It was some German something. I don't really know the story behind it, but we all know it as the Ave Maria. So that is a live concert. The Salve Regina was a processional, and Ave Maria was also part of that as well on October 13th of 2017 at Holy Innocents in Brooklyn, which our guest, Dr. Al Cressy, was the organist and music director for. And we mentioned right before we played that this was an idea to sing the Rosary, and so it was really well attended then. And
we had a couple of hundred people.
Wow.
It was great.
They sing with gusto.
Thank you. Yes, they do.
Yeah,
They do.
that's great. And you said it took a year and a half to pull this together?
Well, with everything else that we do, weekly liturgies and things like the usuals,
Life.
the First Communion and confirmation and all of that. This was a year and a half worth of work.
All right.
There was one Sunday morning, I would normally listen to the 6 a.m. broadcast, Eastern, of course, time, driving into Brooklyn. And I don't remember who you had as a guest that day, but you had mentioned that, some of these other Ave Marias that you don't hear too often, like the César Franck and the Marcel Dupré and the Louis Vierne, and I'm laughing on the Staten Island Expressway, like yelling at the radio, Jen, we're learning those pieces. I always remembered that. It was great.
Well, thanks for listening.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's great. There are so many Ave Maria settings out there. I've always considered it myself, but have not gotten around to it. One of these years, maybe we'll do an Ave Maria concert. But it's wonderful that you pulled all this together with your choir, and most of them probably, do they read music? Most of them do or do
I've
not?
been training them so
them.
that when they get a piece of music, they're at least looking at the notes. They understand what key signatures are, and we even discuss the literature parts. What did the composer, what do you think was in the composer's brain when he or she wrote this piece of music?
Right.
Because if your mind is in the music, and we all know this as choir directors, if your mind is in the music, it's going to help the performance.
That's right. Yeah. So congratulations, and
Thank
that's we're going to go to break, but as soon as we come back, we'll maybe listen to one or two more Ave Marias from this concert and continue talking to Al and Liz about life in church and life in administration and just life in general. You're listening to Sounds from the Spires on the Catholic Channel on SiriusXM 129. That was the Arcadelt Ave Maria, which is not uncommon. That it's one that many choirs know, Jacques Arcadelt. And this is on a concert from October 13 of 2017. Al Cressy was the organist and music director in Holy Innocents in Brooklyn. And we're listening to little snippets of that concert, several Ave Marias, and you listened to some chant earlier. I have a question, Al, that has nothing to do with the church or Ave Marias or anything, but just because of your unique perspective as an administrator, that music is declining in schools, and it's usually the first thing to get cut is the arts, and whether it's visual or audible. As an administrator, did you have any influence in trying to promote the arts, music in the schools?
One of the things that one of my great joys, I was at that time the vice principal for curriculum and instruction at the William C. McGinnis School in Perth Amboy. In those days, it was a grade 7 and 8 building. I had an opportunity to get an electronic organ through a grant through the United States government, and I'd forgotten about that. That was a grant that I put together, and we received that organ, and the children had a chance to listen to it, and we had one student that was quite an able pianist, and we actually played together a couple of times. I played something on organ, he played something on the piano, and I later found out that organ was dedicated by the great Virgil Fox.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah,
yeah,
true story.
Nice story.
Yeah.
We like stories here on talk radio. Yeah, so that's great. And just wanted to know if you had any influence in there, so that's a good thing. Back to the Ave Marias, there's a composer here by the name of William Ventura. Who is that? Or who was that? He died in 1982.
Bill Ventura was one of the singers in the old Mitch Miller program. And they used to tape Mitch Miller at the NBC studios on East 16th Street. It's right across the street from Edward R. Murrow High School. And there would be many times that Bill would sing a funeral, leave Holy Innocents, drive down, I guess it was Ocean Avenue, to the studios, the NBC studios, and be taping a Mitch Miller program. He was a wonderful guy, very, very patient with everybody, and I was a very new organist, a very nervous new organist, and he was very patient with me. And he also composed some music, and this is an example of one of his compositions.
Oh, okay.
And it turned out that when the choir was formed in 1973, this was the very first piece they learned.
How about that? It's got some history behind it. Is it published?
No.
Just a manuscript?
Just a manuscript.
Okay. So this is an Ave Maria by the late William Ventura.
Amen.
And you heard an Ave Maria by the late William Ventura, who was from Holy Innocents Church in Brooklyn, and also a little bit of Al Cressy, our guest today, singing, chanting verses of the prayers of the faithful. The refrain was by Bob Hurd, "Oh God, hear us, hear our prayer," and the verses chanted by our guest, Dr. Al. So, yeah, it's been great having Dr. Al and his wife Liz here today. Liz, how's it been being the wife of a church musician? I guess you never really got to see him on weekends, right?
Well, I went into this with my eyes wide open because our first date was at the 7:30 Mass on a Saturday night and a very late dinner at in Manhattan. But, it's a challenge because he's missed or been late to family functions, holiday dinners, weddings, parties. So I used to joke I was the only person that got married to be single because people would start to wonder, is he really around? And so, it was easier for me because I had a job, I had a career, and I was an English teacher for a very long time, so I had papers to grade, and it was fine being by myself to grade the papers. But I am quite enjoying his almost retirement. So we've gotten to spend a lot of time together, and we like each other a lot. So
that's good.
Nice. Yeah,
that's important when you're married. And when do you expect you'll be fully retired, Al? Or is that ever going to happen?
I don't know. Like I said, I find that I'm a miserable failure in retirement. I just can't sit home and not do anything.
Yeah.
And I have a beautiful music room at home that has a harpsichord and a reed organ and a 3-manual Rogers organ.
Wow.
So I'm on it all the time.
All the time, yeah.
Well, even when we were on vacation, when we were both working, you would go to services where we were vacationing just to see what they were doing. So you're always doing research of some sort.
Yeah, I like this, I don't like that. Wow, what a wonderful singer. Oh, I love the organ. In fact, I found a wonderful church up in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, where the organist there lets me practice anytime I want.
During your vacation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
You should lock the console.
So right now I'm learning the fugue to BWV 541. It's a really tough fugue. I'm almost there with it. I'll find some practice time this summer.
Oh, okay. Well, make sure you make time for your wife and
yes, absolutely,
jet skiing or whatever it is you do on vacation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But thank you, Al and Liz, for being with us today. And I wish you luck with your grant for the Midmerlash that you're working on, and you're freelancing or you're helping out in churches. And thank you for what you do for the church for all these years.
Everything you do for church music, Jennifer. You're a wonderful person. Oh, great
you too.
Friend. Thank you so much.
Likewise, yeah. And thanks for crossing the Hudson today.
My pleasure.
Both of you. So we'll listen to the Festive Postlude in C major by Dawn Marie Tarella. Am I saying that? Tarella Har?
Tarella Har.
Did you know her personally?
Yeah, wonderful person. Died way too early.
Oh, so is that published?
No. Craig told me it should be published. He loved it.
Yeah. It's a great postlude piece. Dawn Marie Tarella Har, Festive Postlude in C major, played by our guest today, Al Cressy. And thank you, Al. Thank you, Liz. And thank you, Tom, for being here today. And stay tuned next week for Sounds from the Spires on the Catholic Channel on SiriusXM 129. Have a great week.